Hello, everybody. We are back with the content, Ploto gaming videos. It's been a week since I've recorded or done anything ever since we lost to KVK. Kind of just been touching grass, and now I have a lot more energy just to, start with the recording and Rise of Kingdoms grind yet again. So, today's video is actually going to be about the past KVK and the marches that I used. And with the report manager, again, shout out to Cubus Mike. The link will be in the description. We'll be looking at all the reports to see which march performed the best and which march performed the worst. So that one, I personally know what to upgrade, and two, so that you guys will know what is currently good to invest in and what might be phased out in the future. All right, let's go ahead and bring out this report manager here. And you can kind of see, this is from the beginning of the fight. So we started fighting around, I believe, the pass opening for pass 7, May 8th. So, this will encompass everything. And according to this, I have gained 2.3 billion KP throughout this KVK, at least when I had the report manager up, because not gonna lie, sometimes I just turn on the computer, start fighting, forget about the report manager. But you can see all of the marches here that I used this KVK. There's a couple of combinations here because I had a 5 march setup that I used for zone 7. I had a 6 march configuration that I used for majority of Kingsland. I also had a 4 march combination that I used when I ran out of troops and I had to retrain because this Kingsland was pretty deadly and I ran out of troops. So out of all of the combinations, I believe up to here are the legit combinations. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 legit combinations that we've used throughout this KVK, and the rest of them rune gathering marches or something that I used to fill a flag, or I thought that I was using Ashtramonopol or something and it ended up being Sargon. So everyone else is a legit march, and we could go ahead and see. This is going to be bait. We're going to be sorting this from kill point ratio. Let's sort it from kill point ratio, just so that we could have a better understanding of how each of the marches did. And this is what it looks like in terms of KP ratio. One thing to keep in mind for some context is throughout the KVK, I kind of have 3 specialized sets, which have all of my crits, which have majority of the iconics. It's pretty much one of each set. So for example, my 1 cavalry set, it has the crits, it has the iconics. And that one is on Huakibing. We have my 1 archer set. It's nothing too crazy. It has 4 crits, some iconics. That one's on my Zhuge Liang. And then finally, we have my 1 infantry set, has 4 crits, and of course some iconics. And that one was on my Liu Che as well as my CPO when I used 1 march, and that would be CPO Liu Che for this march. It's good to have some context because the quality of the gear, I feel like, really does also improve the ratios and such. So that is why you'll see a lot of the Huakibings, Zhuge Liangs, and such in the front here. So yeah, let us go into the kill point ratios and go down the list. And surprisingly, in first place is Huakibing with William. Huakibing William, super strong march at 3.08 KP ratio, 3.70 kill ratio. So a lot of kills here. Honestly, I don't think I use this in Kingsland that often because I did switch over to Huakibing and Belisarius string Kingsland. So these trades were probably during Zone 7, a lot of them. And that was against Daybreak and Greenwood, and we were pretty dominant in the open field. So that might, also sway the trades. But honestly, still super impressive. Huakibing William just showing how versatile he still is and how usable he still is. Pretty underrated commander, probably still one of the commanders that you should max via dailies, even with the new Belisarius release. Just having his active skill, which makes marches not benefit from buffs that increase skill damage, is absolutely huge in the skill damage meta. So William's still a really good commander. And that honestly, that doesn't even show up in the trade, so that actually makes it even more of an impressive march. I've got Zhuge Liang Herman, which is pretty impressive. An archer march. Archer marches being, usually the marches that get targeted down in KVKs. Zhuge Liang and Herman at second place at 2.6 KP ratio, 2.78 kill ratio, and 2.56 power ratio. This march I used throughout KVK, didn't change it at all. This is like the good old classic march of archers in my opinion. Zhuge Herman, you could never go wrong. I used that in the beginning of Zone 7 until the end of Kingsland. And you could tell with the amount of kills it actually has the most amount of kills as a march compared to all the other marches, just because of, how often I used it. 489 million kill points throughout this KVK, which is absolutely huge. Circle AoE damage that Zhuge Liang does and the poison stacks, the AoE poison stacks that Herman Prime does, honestly makes it one of the best marches in Rise of Kingdoms. In third place, we have, in my opinion, the best infantry march in the game currently, which is Scipio Prime and Liu Che at 2.48 KP ratio, 2.96 kill ratio, and 2.39 power ratio. This is again a march that I pretty much only used during Zone 7. When I got into Kingsland, I was able to unlock, my 6th march, which ended up being an infantry march. I split up the Scipio and Liu Che for Kingsland, but those two commanders together get it done at 124 million KP in that Zone 7, which honestly I barely even played in my main account because it was just a bunch of fort filling and fort burning. So super good combination there. And then we have our first Belisarius Prime sighting. This is pretty much the only Belisarius Prime combination that I used this KVK, which was Huoqi Bing with Belisarius Prime at 2.22 KP ratio, 2.46 kill ratio, and a power ratio of 2.17. So huge trades for Belisarius Prime here and Huoqi Bing. Honestly, I really like Belisarius Prime when I have those 5-6 marches, just because of the all damage 12%. You really do feel it with the trades. And when I was running 4 marches and I didn't have Belisarius Prime anymore, my trades were honestly not as good as they were with Belisarius Prime. So I was, we were memeing about how bad Belisarius Prime is, but if you are someone with with 5 marches or more, Belisarius Prime is definitely an option to use. Huoqi Bing, of course, just being that solid commander, super tanky. And of course, Huoqi Bing had my best gear on him, so maybe perhaps that was why he traded so positively. But I still think Belisarius Prime, especially in an artifact KVK, has a place in the meta. And I only used him in Kingsland, 317 million kill points as a march combined. So huge gain there. Next, we actually have Liu Che and Alex. Liu Che Alex having that primary infantry set, but still trading super positively with my bad arch armaments. And I did use arch armaments for this, even though I don't open for arch usually. And my arch armaments are very lackluster, only 7.1, 8.5, 1.9%, and 1.7% all damage, mostly purple. But it still did the job, honestly. Having that normal damage pretty much convert into all damage, allowing for Liu Che and Alex to still really have an impact this KVK, at least for me personally, at 2.19 KP ratio, 2.49 kill ratio, 2.13 power ratio, and 326 million KP overall for this KVK. A huge march. And honestly, I think Liu Che plus anything is a good march, but Alex with the AoE shields and with the expertise, especially giving that all damage debuff that he does, makes him an old classic. Honestly, probably one of the best, if not the best commanders to invest in from KVK2 onwards. So got a lot of usability in Alex in 2024. So super impressive and impressed by him. Okay, next we actually have Ashurbanipal Paul and Joan of Arc, and this is the relic march that I use this KVK, and this is actually going into this first march which uses a secondary set of gear. Secondary set meaning not the crit set or anything like that. There's no crits, no iconics on this Ashurbanipal. Oh, there is an iconic on the boots because I'm just trying to get the boots up for infantry and archers as much as possible. But still, this is pretty much just legendary, which is cool, iconic, which is cool, but that's pretty much all it has. But It's trading 2.17 KP ratio, 2.16 kill ratio, and 2.17 power ratio with pretty much my second set of archer gear. Super solid March. The reason why Ashurbanipal and Joan of Arc work is because of Ashurbanipal's expertise, which whenever this commander's troops use an active skill, it gains one of the following buffs for 4 seconds. This active skill usage works with Joan of Arc's force skill, which triggers the active skill of Joan of Arc twice. So absolutely huge. And you could tell with the trades, it's trading super positively, gaining 277 million kill points. And this is a march I only used in Kingsland. So really good march there. Next, we're going to go into Huoqibing and Joan of Arc. I barely used this march. This is the march that I used when I only had 4 marches remaining before I trained up. It did pretty well, but ultimately this is why I was saying, you know, Huoqibing had my best gear, but it didn't trade as well as the Belisarius Prime or the William when I had, you know, 5 marches altogether. So we had 2.01 KP ratio, 2.32 kill ratio, and 1.95 power ratio at 22.6 million kills overall. Again, I barely use this pretty much for like, I think I used it for like half a day before I trained up. So that is why the sample size is pretty low. Next, we have Boudica with Ashurbanipal. This is a march that I used primarily in Zone 7. It had that second set of gear, and we are now in the realm where I'm not trading 1 for 2 anymore. We're trading 1.9, 1 for 1.9 here in terms of KP. We still have 2.28 kill ratio and 1.83 power ratio. And again, 111 million kill points gained in that Zone 7. Next, we have Nevsky with William. And, you know, this is the pretty much the second march that I used in my 6 March murder ball. It had the secondary set of cavalry gear, which, you know, isn't the best. This one is actually just all iconic, no crit, no awakened gear. And it also has Mora's Web, which is, you know, not the best for showing up on the stat sheets in terms of trades. So only at 1.66 KP ratio, 1.53 kill ratio, and a power ratio of 1.69 with 200 million kill points gained. I think it's a solid march, but I just have to upgrade my secondary cavalry gear, honestly. And the thing about cav marches too is that they always get mispositioned. So I feel like this march would always die first because it would always be first and always be in the wrong spot at the wrong time. And during Kingsland, I just don't have time to micro. We have Nevsky with Joan. I'm not too sure how much or when I used this march. Perhaps this was during Zone 7, but 1.59 KP ratio, 1.87 kill ratio, and 1.53 power ratio at 85 million kill points. Nothing too crazy. And then this is probably going to be, and finally, the last march is actually going to be the infantry march, and it's going to be Guan Yu with CPO, the old classic. But ultimately, this is pretty much the second KVK in a row where it was in the bottom of my march performance. Only getting a 1.54 KP ratio, 1.53 kill ratio, and 1.55 power ratio. And everyone in the comments always says, you know, Guan Yu is one of those commanders that it doesn't pop out in the stat sheet. His AoE silence is super underrated and, you know, is still really good out in the open field. But I feel like, especially when the next commander releases, and if that commander is going to be an infantry commander, I think that is going to be where I can improve my murder ball the most. And the thing is, my infantry gear, the second set of infantry gear, isn't even fully iconicized. So definitely lacking on that 6 set that I have going on, because this is ultimately the 6 sets that I have for this account. So just trying to iconicize that. But ultimately, I feel like Guan Yu, as long as I've had him, I've expertised him. Like, how long ago did I expertise him? Let's check. He's like one of the first legendaries that I expertised in SOC. I recruited him and expertised him pretty much in the same hour in March 16th, 2022, which is before my first SOC KVK. I think his time is coming to an end. But yeah, those are the marches that I used this KVK. apparently I used Joan of Arc with Belisarius for a little bit, but as you can see, like barely used them at all. But yeah, that is the marches that I used this KVK. If I were to learn anything from this KVK, it's that that second infantry march is definitely something to improve. I don't think people were telling me to max Gorgo. I feel like Alex is still good enough to where I don't need to invest the gold heads in Gorgo, especially with the next expected released commander to be an infantry commander. I'm probably gonna wait off, even though I have the gold heads. I'm probably gonna wait off until we get this next infantry commander, and we'll see how good or how bad he is before I invest into anything for this next march. I'll probably still be using Guan Yu. Another takeaway is that Belisarius is really, really good when you have multiple marches. If you look at my murder ball here, they were really, really buffed with this Belisarius, I believe. Like, I feel like the trades and the all damage with Belisarius actually really contributed to how positively my murder ball traded. So there is definitely a use for Belisarius. And what I learned is that it's not that Belisarius is a bad commander, it's just that Joan of Arc, William, Nevsky, and Hua Bing are just really, really good commanders, and it's hard to find a place for Belisarius. But moving forward, I'm probably going to be looking into continuing to use Belisarius even without relics. I'm probably going to invest in some form of third cavalry march as a 7th march just to use Belisarius. I was thinking personally of perhaps investing in leadership gear just so that set could be super, super flexible, and I could, kind of flex that leadership gear wherever it needs to be. And also could serve as, a city garrison. I did get rallied earlier. Video will be in the card in the top right of me getting rallied. Leadership gear, honestly, like if I ever want to go into a siege march, I could also slap the leadership gear onto there instead of just using up all of the materials straight into siege gear. So even though the stats are a lot lower, I feel like it gives a lot of flexibility, which is why the trade-off that you give for all troop stats with that leadership set. I'll probably make a commander investment tier list shortly after this video using, this information as a base point. Be sure to subscribe to the channel to see that. And if you guys want to watch, the fights to where these stats came from, all the live streams are also on my channel. We'll catch you guys later. Peace.